If you've ever built a Power BI report and thought to yourself, the users are going to misread this, then you're not alone. Numbers rarely explain themselves, and they rely on people understanding what's good, what's bad, and what needs attention. So in this video, we're going to be looking at a visual that is designed to fix this. The message bar visual adds a contextual layer directly onto your report. It uses simple, rule-based logic to compare KPIs against targets or conditions, and then it tells the user what is happening in plain language. You can define up to 8 rules per visual, and each one can trigger a message with a severity level like info, success, caution, or critical. When more than one rule applies, the messages stack automatically, so users get a clear, prioritized summary of what matters right now. So instead of sending users to another page, a tooltip, or a document, the report explains itself. So in this video, I'll show you how it works and how to configure the rules. I have my Power BI report already set up. If we expand the data panel, we can see I have the KPI data table and I have my measures table with things like data freshness, fulfillment rate, lead time, and stock level. And each of those are the current values, the values as of now for those. And we also have our target values for each. So data freshness target, fulfillment rate target, lead time target, and stock level target. So when we set up the visual, for example, we'll create a rule where we compare the current stock level to the target stock level. So if the current stock level is below the target level, we can create that as a caution message, and we can set what text is shown to give the user some context to inform the user of what that actually means. Now, before we actually introduce the visual, we first need to introduce another table and 2 additional measures. So we're going to start by introducing a scenario table because the visual is scenario driven. So we need to create scenarios for each of our KPIs. So for data freshness, fulfillment rate, lead time, and stock level, we need to create a scenario table that tells the visual, okay, which KPI am I looking at? So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to be using a DAX expression to create our table. So we go up to modeling, and then we click new table, call our table scenario, then we do new line, and we start with data table. Open brackets, and then we're going to introduce the 2 columns that we want within this table. So those 2 columns will be scenario and order. So we start with scenario, and this will be a string value, and within this column, it'll be like the scenario name, so fulfillment rate, lead time, stock level, for example. Our second column is going to be order. So this will be assigning a number value to each row, 0 through to 3. So we want that to be an integer. We then go to the next line, and now we need to introduce braces, or we'll call them curly brackets for simplicity. So open braces, open curly bracket, new line, open curly bracket, and now we start to introduce the data for the table. So our first row will be fulfillment rate. So this will be our first scenario, and we assign a number of 0 or an order value of 0 for that one. Close curly brackets, and then we do comma, new line. For the next row in the table, we're going to do lead time, and we assign 1 to this one, and then close brackets, and then next one is going to be stock level, and then that'll be current. So our current stock level. And we assign a order value of 2 to that one. And then our final row in our table that we're creating, we're going to have data freshness. And that's hours dash current. So they've got the scenarios are the same name as our measures, our KPIs. And this will have an order value of 3. And then we close the curly brackets, and then close the final curly brackets, and then close the top brackets as so. Hit enter on the keyboard or do the green tick. And there we have our scenario table. So if we go across to the table view and we select the scenario table over here, we can see now the data within there. So we have fulfillment rate, lead time, stock level, and data freshness. And we have the order 0 through 3. Now we need to create 2 additional measures, so we'll move on to those next. The two measures we're going to create are KPI value by scenario and KPI target by scenario. Each measure is a switch statement, and what they do is they take whatever value is selected in the scenario order column and return the equivalent measure or the equivalent KPI. So if we take KPI value by scenario, for example, if the scenario order value of 1 is selected, then it will return the lead time measure, the lead time KPI. Same as in the KPI target by scenario measure, if the scenario order value of 1 is selected again, then it will return the lead time target KPI, the lead time target measure. We then pass these two measures into our visual. So when we do select, for example, scenario order 1 in our rules, it will compare the lead time against the lead time target value. So let's go ahead and create the first measure. So we first need to right-click our measure table and click New Measure. I'm going to call this one KPI value by scenario. And we're going to start with a variable. So VAR, I'm going to call it ord equals selected value. And we are selecting the order value or the order column from our newly created table. So we can select that one. New line, and then we're going to do return, new line again, switch, open brackets, pass in our variable. We're going to say when 0, then return our fulfillment rate. So we'll select fulfillment rate there. When it's 1, return lead time. So we'll select lead time. And then when it is 2, then return stock level. And we want the stock level current. And then when it's 3, we want it to be data freshness hours dash current. And if it's none, then return blank, as so. And then we need to close brackets. Just missed off the bracket at the top here by the title, so just put that in. There we go, okay, that one. And then we have our KPI value by scenario. Now we need to create our second one. What we can do, we can just copy and paste this one now. So we'll just copy it, right click, new measure. We'll paste it in, but we'll call it KPI value. We'll change that value to target. And we just need to update what measures it's returning. So fulfillment rate, we need to change that one to target. Lead time, we need to do the same again, target. And then current, we're going to call that stock level target. So, and then data freshness hours is going to be data freshness target. And we remove the current from this one, so that's not the name of it. There we go, as so, and we'll okay that one. And there we have our two new measures, so KPI target and KPI value by scenario. We can now move on to creating the visual itself. We need to install or add the visual to our Power BI file. So where our visuals are, we're going to click the 3 dots and then click Get More Visuals. In the search box, we're going to type a message and scroll down to the bottom and we have contextual message bars. So select that one and then click Add. That will then get imported into our Power BI file. Once that has been done, we can click OK. And then over here, we can see the visual. So we're going to click on it and let's just move it towards the top of the page. And now we need to start by passing in the scenario value into the scenario field. So we expand data, and from within our scenario table that we've created, we're going to drag and drop the order value into that scenario field. Now, if no rules have been set, the visual will tell you. It will tell you to set up rules in the format your visual settings. And for full guidance, refer to the hints and tips page, which you'll actually find within the downloadable sample. If you want to access that, either re-import the visual again and you can download the sample from there, or you can access it through the marketplace or AppSource online. You can download the sample from there. I'll put a link in the description of this video where you can access it. Now we need to pass values into the value and compare to fields. And this is where our two measures come in that we created earlier. So our KPI value, we're going to put into the value field, and the target value, we're going to put into the compare to field. And now we can start creating our rules. So let's start by creating rule 1. So we go up to format your visual. We're going to expand rule 1. Where it says scenario, we're going to pass in the value of 0 because we are using the order field, which is the values of 0 through 3. Now, you could put the scenario column within that scenario field. But what that means is you'd need to type in the full scenario name. So you need to type in fulfillment rate within this scenario box. By using that order column, we get the same functionality. It's just much easier to type in 0, for example. So for this one, the operator is going to be less than. And then we're using the compare source of compare to field. So that is our KPI target value that we're passing into the field. Now, you do have the option here to do a fixed value. So if your target is going to be a fixed value, and it forever will be, or it's just easier to do it that way, you can select fixed value and then type in your fixed value here. But we're not doing it that way. We're using a measure to compare to. Now, severity when true, this is the message type we want to display. So we want to display a caution message type for this one. So when the target value, when the value is less than the target for fulfillment rate, we want it to show a caution message. When the severity is false, so when the fulfillment rate is not below target, then we want to show a success message. Now, I've got these messages already pre-written, so I'm just going to copy and paste them in. So I'm going to take what the message is when it's true. So the message is fulfillment rate is, let's just expand this, below target. So when it is less than, it's true that it's less than, then fulfillment rate is below target. And then I have the detail message as well. So I'll just paste that one in. Now you can type in anything you want here. I've just got these pre-written to help move this along. And then we have our message when it's false. So when it's false, fulfillment rate is above target, and then we have our detail too. Now you can see the visual has now updated and it's actually showing our message because the fulfillment rate is below target. So let's just format the visual first and then we'll move on to adding some additional rules. With the visual selected, let's go up to format your visual, into general properties. Let's change the height to 160. And the width we're going to set to 725. Then let's go down to effects and let's turn background off. Let's also turn header icons off as well. Now tooltips is on. If you hover over it, we do have tooltip values, but let's turn those off. They're not needed. So we'll turn tooltips off. Then within the position, let's set vertical to 0. So it's at the top of the page. And we'll set horizontal to 2, 3, 4. This is so the edge of the actual message bar aligns with our KPI bar as well. And let's also just change the padding here for the top one. Let's make it 0. Yeah, now it's more centrally aligned with our top bar of our report there. Now what we can do is we can move on to the second rule now that we have this nicely placed. Okay, so with rule 2 expanded, we're going to set the scenario value to 1. We're going to set the operator to greater than. Again, we're setting it field compared to because we're comparing it to our target measure. And then we want to set the severity here to critical. And then when it's false, we're going to set it to success. So the message when it's true is the average lead time is above the agreed SLA, and the detail message to provide that extra context. The message when it's false. So again, I've got these pre-written already to save time. But again, you can put whatever you want in these messages here. We'll paste that into the detail message. Now, if you look at the visual, you can see, let's expand this. So you can see the detail. This is the detail we've given. So in here, you can give your users additional context. So it can tell them like what might be the problem, what should they look at, etc. You can add whatever you need to do in here, add in here to give your users additional context when that scenario is true or false. But you'll also see here it says one more, and that's because we've got additional messages, messages that we need to give to the user. So what we can do now is we can click the little X and it will show the second message within our visual. If you've got more, it will go from, one more to, it'll show 3 more, 2 more, 8 more, whatever. And you can the user can scroll through them by clicking the little X. So if you click it one more time, the message bar actually disappears. So, once the user's finished reviewing all these messages, taking the action that they need to, they can actually clear the visual. It's no longer part of the report. And this applies in the service as well. If you were to publish this to the service, you'll have the same functionality. Now, if I just refresh the report, so as if the user's coming into it fresh, you can see those messages have come back again. The same will apply within the service. If a user comes out of the report, if they refresh the report, refresh their browser within the service, then those messages will reappear. And of course, once those issues are no longer a problem, or you don't need to display them anymore, then they will just disappear in their entirety. So now we've created those 2 rules, but now you can create an additional 6 rules as well. And you can see how that's set up within the sample file. So again, if you go to the description of this video, you'll be able to download the sample file that has this report in it. It has the visual fully set up, and you'll be able to review how those rules have been created. So you can start using this within your own reports.